app. Field Yates released his latest mock draft this morning, and he has the Jaguars picking running back Ashton Jeanty with the 5th overall pick, and the Steelers picking Omarion Hampton with the 21st overall pick. Jeanty would be the first running back selected in the top 5 since Saquon Barkley in 2018. Okay, the back's getting a little bit of love. Mina, do you feel like Saquon Barkley revitalized the running back position and its respect around the NFL?
I think Saquon Barkley is a good example, a model for why you shouldn't take a running back 5th overall there if you're Jacksonville. Sounds like paradoxical, right? Because Saquon Barkley is amazing, and we just saw him dominate, but he dominated on a football team that was prepared to let him dominate, a football team with a fantastic offensive line and great pass catchers and a very good quarterback that was a running back away, it turned out. Whereas the team that drafted him, Molly's team, very high, it wasn't a good draft pick. Great player, was incredible early on, obviously battled injuries, but you saw that putting an elite running back behind a bad offensive line in a bad offense does not fix your football team. Saquon Barkley wasn't productive his last year in New York, and then he went to the Eagles and was amazing. So you go back to the draft, and I think about some of these teams. A team like Jacksonville had one of the worst defenses in football last year. Ryan, you remember this. I mean, they need help at all 3 levels on that defense, the interior, linebacker, corner, offensively. Brian Thomas Jr., they need more pass catchers. Offensive line has issues. So while I view Ashton Jeanty as a top 5 talent, and I think he's the best running back in the draft, I do not think the value or the situation the Jags are in makes this pick make sense to me.
Ryan Clark?
Yeah, I think, Molly, what Saquon Barkley did was say, hey, if you have everything else, if you have a great offensive line, if you have a great structure, if you have a good quarterback, weapons on the outside, then an elite running back puts your offense in a tier that is amongst the best in all the NFL, even without having a pass game that has to be Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen. That's what Saquon Barkley showed you. But what we also saw this year was like a guy like Josh Jacobs that went in the early 30s that was with the Raiders. When you bring him to Green Bay and you have Matt LaFleur and all that they can do, he can show or help your team get to that top tier in the run game. We saw the same thing with Derrick Henry moving to the Baltimore Ravens that had all of these things in place around him to allow him to not only excel but the offense. And so I think that's the tricky part here with Ashton Jeanty. Listen, I love Ashton Jeanty's tape. And when you think about Omarion Hampton, who they say is going to the Steelers, and then it gets to Henderson and Quinn and Junkins and Scatterbo and Dylan Sampson, he's to me a step above all of those guys, but to me he's not LaDainian Tomlinson. To me, he's not Adrian Peterson. And so I feel like if you don't have the correct infrastructure to allow him to shine, he would be a waste of a pick at 5 or 6 for the Jags or the Raiders.
RC, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mom.
No, first of all, I don't know why I teed you up saying Ryan Clark, full government name, but it just came out of my mouth. I was just going to ask, do you like the Jaguars taking Ashton Jeanty at 5, Mina?
Do I like the Jags taking Jeanty at 5?
Would you like
no,
that?
No, I don't think they should. I'm with RC. I think that the Bears at 10 is where it starts to make a little bit of sense to me because of the investment that they've put in their offensive line this offseason.
I have to tell y'all both.
Yeah.
No disagreement here. I'm just disappointed with all of y'all takes because I wanted them to ask y'all this question because I wanted y'all to go in a direction that neither of y'all went to. So I'm going to go there for you. You remember the name Austin Eckler?
Yeah,
Austin Eckler, running back for the Commanders, that used to be with the Chargers. Do you remember what he did in July of 2023? He organized a Zoom call where he wanted these players to hop on a Zoom call to discuss running backs, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, a few others along with himself. And the treatment that they were receiving, you get franchise tagged, the amount of money that you think that you're available in terms of your market value wasn't necessarily being met. And it wasn't about dudes' productions. It was literally executives perceived as looking at dudes' birth certificates and saying, well, you know what, this is what you're not going to be. I mean, you don't have but so much time left. So because of that, you're not going to get but so much money. Do you remember how much money Derrick Henry got? how Jerry Jones sat up there and couldn't find $8 million
Too much.
to get for Derrick Henry. You understand what I'm saying? We look at even now a Rico Dowdle in Dallas that goes to Carolina. Why? Oh, my Lord, stop the presses, y'all. It was 1 year, $6 million. Jerry Jones couldn't keep him. So you had to go to Denver and get Javonte Williams for $3 million. I mean, it saved $3 million. I mean, my God, stop the presses, okay? And I'm saying to y'all, when I think about this, again, Jeanty could ball, and we get that part. But I'm wondering whether or not you guys would feel that a Saquon Barkley, that a Derrick Henry, looking at how great they are and how they've defied odds, etc., particularly considering shame. That's what I call the GM for the Giants, not shame. Shame on him for how he acted, okay? I'm looking at them, and I'm saying, have we gotten to a point where we at least need to look at running backs and their value? And is it worth having a discussion as to whether or not they should be appreciated and valued more?
Mina, you take it first.
No, I have. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but Ryan, you can tell me what you think. It doesn't really. It's counterintuitive. I believe the better your offensive line is, you actually should consider spending more on a running back, which doesn't apply to any other position in the NFL, right? Because normally, wow, our pass rush stinks. Let's throw $35 million at edge rusher, whatnot. But when you have a good offensive line, what Saquon, what Derrick Henry, what Josh Jacobs showed, is a great running back can take your offense to outer space. But if you have a bad offensive line, don't throw money at a running back.
I agree with
that. Spend it on the offensive line first. So it's really about team building, Ryan. So I actually think a team like Denver, which has a great offensive line, it's worth investing draft capital in a running back.
No, I 100% agree with Mina, and that's also why we saw Saquon Barkley get an extension, because being behind that offensive line and being able to show this is what I can do when I have space. I was a very good running back at New York, but in Philadelphia, I'm the best of running backs. At Philadelphia, I'm transcendent in the position. At Philadelphia, I'm getting all of this yardage because they're getting me into space, and I'm making sure that the first guy never gets me on the ground. Right. And so what Mina is saying is this: running back is one of the very few positions that you can't just say, in order for me to improve at running back, I just need to go get a better running back. The run game is one of those things where you say, hey, man, the infrastructure we have right now, because think about this, Stephen A., real quick. Think about this. Miles Sanders was good there. Swift was good in Philadelphia. They knew they could run it, and then when they added Saquon, it made it totally different.
Right. But what I'm saying to the both of you, that's entirely different than the narrative that was out there, which forced Austin Ekeler to take the position that he was taking. What they were saying was, okay, it wasn't teams passing up, like, this offensive line is not strong. Okay, a running back coming here is not going to help us but so much because we can't protect him, we can't create holes for him, we can't block for him. Except they weren't saying that. What they were saying was, well, you know what, you're about 28, 29 years of age. So guess what? You want a 3-year deal. Our numbers tell us, our data tells us you ain't going to be good enough in a year because of your birth certificate. That's what they were fighting, and that's what I'm talking about. What y'all broke down makes perfect sense. Nobody can refute that, but that's not what running backs were being told by NFL teams.
Yeah.
They were saying the dust on your birth certificate tells us you're going to be done, so we ain't making this investment because X, Y, and Z. That's a problem. And why do I bring that up? Because, Ryan, you talked about it earlier in the morning. We talked about it earlier today about Shedeur Sanders. The narratives that are put out there deviate from football analysis. Yeah. And it's affecting cats' wallets. Right. When are we going to put a stop to that? That's what I'm saying.
Your point, I think what you're saying, Stephen A., is No, some perceptions were changed. I do think, you're right. Dude, NFL GMs, they were looking at running backs like Leonardo DiCaprio, like, oh, you're 26, get out of here. Those free agents,
I gotta get a new one.
Actually, they still had a lot to give.
Nina, you're hilarious.
If you put them in the right situation, they could thrive. I do think that you can argue that this class of free agents changed that perception. It is worth investing in the position, so long as Ryan and I said,
the pieces.
Yeah, already set on the offensive line. That is how my thinking changed after last year.
All right, I think.
Yeah, and I think, but the other part is this too, though, Stephen A. We have to get to the point to where whether it's the people that's delivering the news or the anonymous quotes and the folks that are giving them to them, everybody ain't smart.
Right.
Not everybody is making these decisions and actually not only understands what's the best way to make the decision, but how do I communicate the decision in a way that actually makes football sense. And that's why we see GMs get fired. That's why we see head coaches lose their job, because the of decision making is not sound. And that's exactly what we're seeing with running backs now. And I do believe that this year changes that opinion, but I don't believe that that will always affect how guys are drafted at the position.
I heard your point early on, Get Up, and we'll close, Molly, by saying this. Of course, we talk about anonymous sources. It's cowardly, and we get all of that. My attitude is this. We got folks throughout history covering everything from the White House to Wall Street and everything in between that would give anonymous quotes. Here's the difference. You might not tell who that source is that gave the anonymous quotes, but you can say they're full of it. You can say they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
You can say that even though they said this, there's no credence or credibility to this whatsoever. I'm talking about other people in the media. If somebody writes an article and they say that, other people who write articles can sit up there and debunk it too. You can do that.
Yeah, we'll leave it.
Attention NFL fans. A news story has just emerged that could completely change the landscape of the 2025 draft. It involves a potential bombshell trade between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Jets that could mark the end of Dallas Goedert's era in Philadelphia. Yes, you heard that right. One of the best tight ends in the league could be in the Jets' sights right at the start of the draft. In this video, I'll tell you all the details about this possible trade, what each team would gain, and how it could impact both the Jets' offense and the Eagles' immediate future. Stay tuned until the end. Before diving into the possible bombshell between the Eagles and the Jets, there's something important you need to know. The Jets are desperately looking to strengthen their offense, especially after the departure of Tyler Conklin in free agency. With Jeremy Ruckert as the starting tight end, uncertainty has grown, as he has only 35 receptions in his career. This situation has raised alarms in New York, and it wouldn't be surprising if they were to pursue a proven player like Goedert to give Justin Fields a reliable weapon in the passing game. All signs point to the Jets making aggressive moves in the draft. The situation with Jeremy Ruckert is far from ideal for a young quarterback like Justin Fields. During his time with the Steelers, Fields showed how much he relied on tight ends, like Pat Freiermuth, who often surpassed 4 receptions in the majority of games Fields played. That's why the Jets know they need a solid piece in that position. This is where Dallas Goedert comes in as an immediate solution. With experience, dominant physicality, and reliable hands, Goedert could become Fields' favorite target from the first snap. For the Eagles, this would also be a way to relieve salary cap space and get a 4th-round pick in 2025. Now I want to know your opinion on this situation. If you were part of the Jets, would you bet on a player like Dallas Goedert to boost your offense? Or would you prefer to trust Jeremy Ruckert and give him a chance to grow? Goedert's experience is undeniable, but it also comes with a significant contract. Do you think it's worth making this trade for a 4th-round pick? Your opinion is key. Let me know in the comments what you would do if you were in the Jets or Eagles front office. Would you accept this trade? Or would you consider it a mistake? I'll be reading your comments. Now that you understand the situation behind this move, it's time to get straight to what's really shaking up the NFL right now. Just hours before the draft, a hot rumor has gained traction in the locker rooms and could completely alter the plans of 2 franchises at a critical moment: the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Jets. The trade involving Dallas Goedert is no longer just speculation, and projections are already being made about what each side could gain or lose. If this trade goes through, it will shake up the draft and the season. According to the proposal revealed by John Breach from CBS Sports, the Philadelphia Eagles are seriously considering trading Dallas Goedert to the New York Jets in exchange for a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft. The move, while seemingly simple, would have a big immediate impact. The Jets would resolve their tight end problem with an experienced and productive player, while the Eagles would gain financial flexibility and another valuable pick for next year. The big question now is, will the Eagles really part ways with one of their offensive cornerstones in the lead-up to the draft? The bombshell could drop at any moment. If this trade happens, the effects will go far beyond the simple movement of one player. For the Eagles, it would signal a shift in offensive philosophy, possibly focusing on a roster overhaul and opening salary space for other areas of the team. For the Jets, the arrival of Dallas Goedert could be the final step to solidify a competitive offense alongside Justin Fields, capitalizing on the quarterback's positive history with tight ends. Additionally, this trade could push other teams to make moves in the draft, especially those also looking for reliable offensive weapons. In other words, the domino effect could be huge. And now I want to hear from you, passionate NFL fan. Do you think the Eagles are making the right choice by considering trading Dallas Goedert? Or do you believe they should keep their starting tight end and focus on reinforcing other positions? And on the Jets side, do you think it's worth using a draft pick to bring in an experienced name like Goedert? Comment below what you think each team should do. Your opinion might appear in the next videos, so don't waste time and join the conversation in the comments. That's all for today, folks. Keep an eye out because at any moment this bombshell trade could go through, and we'll be here bringing you all the details firsthand. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on the Eagles, the Jets, and everything happening in the NFL. And of course, comment below with your opinion. I'll see you in the next video with more hot news from the world of football.